Ayo, Isidro. Holler at the people. 10,000 tacos.
Welcome to 10,000 Tacos. 10,000 Tacos is a podcast that takes a look at the world, the taco world and beyond, through the eyes of a taquero. I'm Isidro Salas, your host, and I grew up in a taco truck, and I want to share with you those experiences and many of those lessons that have shaped the way I look at the world today.
10,000 tacos. Yo, 10,000 tacos.
The other day, I got up early to help my wife. As she was getting ready to go to work, I figured, let me cook her some breakfast, right? She was going to have a busy day, so I said, well, I'm going to surprise her with something. So I began by going to the kitchen, pulling out what I had, and I said, I'm going to surprise her with some breakfast burritos. So I went ahead and made some huevos. Those are eggs, by the way. Also cooked some bacon, a little bit of bell pepper and onion with a little bit of the grease. Just a little bit of the grease, not a lot. And some mushrooms. Cooked all that, seasoned it well, pulled out a couple of flour tortillas, and decided to make her some burritos. Not only make the burritos, but also, as I rolled them nicely, put them back into the comal so they could seal where it's connected, sort of, to give it a little crunch. And then decided to get some wax paper, wrap them into a foil paper, which would contain some of the heat. So, went ahead and did that. Gave her a ride to work, dropped her off. And I knew she was going to be gone for the next 10, 12 hours. So when I went and picked her up again, I asked her how her day was going. She's like, oh, it went well. A lot of work. I said, hey, what about those burritos? Did you like the burritos? She said, oh, I love the burritos. And she had mentioned that one of her coworkers, as she was eating them, was asking her where she got them. And did she go to a local place to buy them? She said, no, my husband made them. And I guess her coworker friend had this surprised face because she thought she got them from like a local taqueria or something. She just didn't think that's something that could come from home. And that felt pretty good. Because I knew that somebody took that, not only my wife did she appreciate the food that was in, but somebody else noticed that that's something you only find at restaurants or at taquerias, the way they wrap their stuff in. It got me thinking, why did I go that extra step to do that? And I thought, well, this is why. So today on the show, I want to tell you how I arrived to making it sort of a habit to package anything that I'm going to take to go as if we were packaging it when we used to do that in the catering truck. And how on one particular evening, I was challenged by one of my siblings to do the right thing. And we'll begin on that night. So it's a Saturday night in 1988. Yeah, that was a long time ago. My brother and I are watching the World Series of baseball. I know in the United States it's called the World Series, and even though they don't play it around the world, they still take it so. But it's called the World Series. I have a problem with that, but oh well. It's the Oakland Athletics, which is a local town from where I grew up. Grew up about 50 miles south of Oakland in San Jose. And they are playing against the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Now the Dodgers don't need the muscle of Gibson as much as a base hit. And on deck is the leadoff man, Steve Sachs. 3-2.
And it is the last inning. 2 outs. And the batter for the Dodgers is a hobbling old man. He's old for a baseball player. And he's just about to make history. As he pulls up to the batter's box, almost simultaneously, a car pulls up next to the catering truck. And, well, we both know it's a customer. My brother and I, we don't even have to look at each other to confirm who's going to go. And I'm like, ugh. I know I have to be the one who tends to him. My brother, because he's older, has seniority. You see, in a taco truck environment run by a family, there is seniority. And because he's been here on the planet Earth longer, well, he gets to stay and watch the game. And I have to go tend to the customer. Those are the unwritten union rules of a catering truck. So I pull away and greet the customer. Hola, buenas noches, ¿cómo está? How you doing? Good evening, how you doing? He says, estoy bien, gracias. ¿Me puede hacer 2 burritos? He orders 2 burritos de carne asada. Uno con todo, and the other con la pura carne, he says. I've never understood what the pura carne means, but hey, to each their own. Oh, I almost forgot. Before I go any further, for some of you who don't understand what I just said, I'm going to try to translate it. Let me do this. He orders 2 burritos, 2 beef burritos, one of them with everything, being cilantro, cebolla, and la salsa roja. Oh, the glazing salsa roja. And the other one is just the meat. He wants nothing else, just the meat, just the pura carne. That's what it is. Anyway, I take his order, but I'm also looking over at the TV up by the front of the truck. I'm trying to glimpse what is going on in the game. So clearly, I am not giving this customer my full attention. That is mistake number 1. I pick up the tortillas, I take them out of the package, and I throw them onto the comal. And then I peek a little bit over to the TV. I also take a quick look at the customer, but then I look at the tortillas rising, and I know they are ready to get flipped. Flour tortillas warm up a lot faster than corn tortillas. And you have to be careful, so I'm paying attention to that. But that's where I make mistake number 2. I should be talking to the customer instead of just glimpsing over to the television. He is a regular customer, and if my father was there, I know he'd be talking to him because that's what I always would see. My dad would always be talking to the customers while he was preparing their food. I think that's one of the many reasons why he had such a great connection with his customers is that, and it wasn't just him, it was my mom too, but mostly my father. He would be making the tacos or the burritos while he'd be talking to the customer. That was special. So the tortillas are finishing warming up, and I begin to assemble these burritos. I make the first one, and that's with everything, right? And then I roll it, wrap it up on foil paper, and after all, he wants them para llevar, which means to go. So I just do that pretty fast. Then I turn to the next one. Again, I take a little glimpse of what's going on the game. And I just throw in the meat, just to get the spoon and I'm clearly not caring about this. So the tortilla is a little crunchy because I left it a little too long on the comal. And when I go to roll it, it kind of starts breaking apart, but that doesn't stop me. I just still roll it anyway. And then I begin putting it into the bag to go. As soon as I do that, though, I hear my brother explode into a frenzy up in the front of the truck. So much so that even our customers notice, what's going on. And of course, at this point, this is where that one player made history.
But the game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is
He hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs and the only way to win the game. He does it in dramatic fashion. It's still one of those things that you see ever so often. So I hurry to get this over to the customer. Simultaneously, my brother in celebration starts jumping up and down and heading towards the back. And It's clearly pandemonium. And then I start going, oh, wow, this is crazy. Like, you know. As my brother comes to the back, to the truck, he stops all of a sudden and looks at the burritos I'm about to hand to this customer. His face just falls flat in like 0.0003 seconds. I mean, it is fast. What the F is that? He says to me. And you know what I mean when he says F. And I'm like, what? What is what? Right? Like, kind of ignoring him. It's his order. It's 2 burritos to go. Right? You know, and I'm kind of excited, but I'm also like sudden buzzkill. And he looks at me, and I mean, again, he goes from celebratory to just flat, and he says, would you eat that? Is that what we eat when mom makes us our burritos at home? You can't even pick them up with both of your hands without them falling apart. That's not what we make here. I mean, he was very serious, and I was like kind of taken back. And he says that. Would mom serve those burritos to us? Would mom serve those burritos to our customers? I look down. Kind of go, not really. But who cares? It's going to come down his stomach anyway, so who cares? You know, I've been known for making smarky little remarks when somebody calls me out, and that was one of those moments. Anyway, my brother tells me to throw another 2 tortillas onto the comal. He clearly is not going to let this happen. He is going to redo the burritos. He's going to do the burritos the proper way. That was the last time I ever took for granted how a burrito gets rolled. And since that day, I've been taking the necessary time and effort to roll burritos the proper way, even when it's not a customer. That's the way that my wife saw those burritos because of that day. She benefited from that. I love burritos. I probably love burritos more than I love tacos, and I love tacos. So if I ever run for the presidency of the United States and you want to get me on something, just say, hey, man, you have a 10,000 Tacos podcast, but you love burritos more. That'll probably be my downfall, and I'll be okay with that. You see, burritos, they have this thing. They're very special to me. Some people have said that they're not a Mexican food. In other words, it wasn't like the taco that was invented in Mexico. But it's inspired totally by Mexican food. So I could see how some people think that, you know, they weren't part of, the Mexican origin and they came out of the United States. Who cares? They're great. They have this thing. If they are made the right way, if they are rolled and made the proper way, of course, they are like wine. They just get better and better. And that's because by the time you get to the end of a burrito, all the juices, all the flavors, all those things have made it to the bottom. And it's like a grand finale at a concert or a fireworks show. You've had such a great time. It's been a great concert, been great fireworks, but at the end, it is just popping. Things are going on that you are like, man, it's gotten better. But that only happens if it's rolled correctly. Just think about it. If you hold it upright as you are biting into it, all those juices are melting together and they're just going together, and they're, gravity, natural gravity is taking course, and they're all meeting at the bottom. I personally love to sprinkle lemon or limon, as I take bites, and I sprinkle a little bit salsa on top so it could make its way to the bottom. And it's all meshing along with the juices of the frijoles, de la olla, the carne asada or the al pastor, all those flavors, the grease is just dripping down into the bottom of that burrito. Just making its way, migrating all the way to the bottom so that they could give you this great, great, great taste while you're finishing it up. If you don't roll it correctly, you miss out on that experience. If people don't roll burritos correctly, the customers miss out. The art of rolling perfect burritos has its implications. For me, at least. Yeah, going back to that day in 1988, it forced some unwanted criticism. But that's okay. You see, we need people in our lives to challenge us once in a while. Without being challenged, how do we learn? How do we make up for something that we did wrong? How do we know if somebody isn't there to tell us that we did something wrong? Without being challenged, the opposite of that is apathy. And no one benefits from apathy. Nobody cares when there's apathy. It made me realize how lucky I was to have a brother, a person in my life that was there to help me realize that all those many years ago. You see, this brother is a very deeply loyal person. He's very loyal. I've talked about the hidden ingredients in past episodes and how important those ingredients are. One of those was trust. Well, loyalty is another. Loyalty is one of those hidden ingredients that go very far, way after you make that taco and you serve it to a customer. Or you roll that burrito and that customer consumes it. Loyalty goes into those flavors. Without my brother's interference that day, those many years ago, I'd probably just went on and not caring how things are done the right way. And how, if you don't do it the right way, what are the impacts in life? I would never know that. But I know sitting today, being able to make and roll burritos for my wife and her having a great day at work and having somebody else go, oh, wow, you could make those at home. I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for my brother. Being around that, doing the right thing, just made me a better person. That brother of mine is my hero. And I don't often admit it. Superheroes and the big screen or football players or sports figures, they're easy to be called heroes, but heroes are people like my brother. You see, towards the end of my father's life, it was that same brother who took time off of work to look after, not just my dad and help him out, but also help out my mom. We all contributed. All of my siblings, all of my brothers and my one sister, we all did what we needed to do to help my mom out. But it was this guy, and I don't want to single him out to say that he did a better job. No, all of us did what we could do to help my mom out. And eventually, in the last years of my dad's life, we all came together to do this. But let me just tell you one of the things that he did. He would have to do the caretaking stuff. And what I mean, it's that other side. When somebody has an accident and you have to help clean them. Ask yourself, would you do that? And if you say yes, well, good for you. But there's a difference between saying you'll do something and actually doing it. And the other thing that happened is, as we were making arrangements after my dad passed away, the funeral coordinator said if we wanted to, one of us could be at that room that presses that button that shuts down the door and eventually pushes the coffin into the place where it's eventually going to cremate. My brother didn't even hesitate. He raised his hand and said, I'm going to do it. I made a promise to my dad that I was going to see it through the end. And on that beautiful day, late May 2020, while most of us were already saying our goodbyes, my brother pressed that button and fulfilled his promise. loyalty. That's what the art of rolling a burrito the right way does. Gives you the strength to do things that most people don't have the courage to. I am the proud son of a taquero, and this is 10,000 Tacos.